Good evening and welcome to Art Talk. I'm Laura Womack, and with me is Technical Director Jen McHugh.
Hi, everyone.
Tonight we welcome graffiti artist and muralist Leon Rainbow, guest produced by artist Chi Bravo. Leon Rainbow was a kid in California when he noticed the impact other kids were having as they created a new art form through graffiti. The colors and the movement were cool, and he decided that's what he wanted to do, and he's doing it. Leon says his art is a channel for deeper expression. He applies fine art composition and principles to his work, but in a style that his young audience can relate to. That allows him to visually educate his audience on social issues and current trends. He designs his work to share a spiritual message. His goal is to make art that resonates on several levels. Leon has an associate degree from Mercer County Community College. He's painted murals through the tri-state area, including at Princeton University, Drexel and Rider universities. He's exhibited at Ellerslie Museum, New Jersey State Museum, as well as in many galleries. Leon advised artist Chi Bravo on a large-scale pilgrim's banner for her immersive art experience at a concert put on by the Lotus Project. Welcome, Leon Rainbow.
Hey, everybody. I'm glad to be here.
We're glad you're here. And welcome to everyone in the audience. As usual, please put your questions in the Q&A, and we'll get to as many or all of them if we can. And as always, let's start with art. So Jen has prepped a slideshow of Leon Rainbow's work. And let's take a look. And Leon, here's a great picture of Leon in front of some of his work. And we'll click through. Okay, I like the headings, Jen. If you can go back for just a minute, you put up these great headings. And street paintings or tactical urbanism. Let's look at the art and then talk about what that means. Okay. This is literally street art, Leon.
Yeah. So you want me to talk as we go, or how do you want
Yeah, that would be great.
Okay, yeah. So tactical urbanism is basically using, art is only one of them, but using different things within the environment or the physical street to make the streets more safe, really. So by you shortening the crosswalks and putting bright colors, the bright colors cause people to kind of slow down a little bit. And by you shortening the crosswalk, it gives less space that people have to go in between the crosswalk. So it makes it safe. And some of the times when you do the tactical urbanism, you're testing to see if it's going to work at that intersection. And then there's other times where you're doing more of a permanent installation or semi-permanent installation.
Wow, I had no idea. So that's what we're looking at here is you created this colorful crosswalk, which clearly is cutting what would be the traditional route to make it safer.
Right. Yeah, that's part of it. And, there's, I do the art part, but, there is organizations that do the street planning and actually, have, work with the science around it and find out which intersections are the most dangerous and, figure out what's the best things to do at different intersections. Sometimes it's putting a planner or putting narrowing lanes down. There's a lot of different things. But, I mainly focus obviously on the mural aspect or the painting aspect,
Yeah, that's your expertise. So rainbow, that's your name, a lot of symbolism. What is the rainbow here about?
Yeah, this is the rainbow crosswalk. Obviously, it's for pride. My last name is I'm half Native American, so my name, that's my family name, my father's last name, so that's where that comes from. But this crosswalk is the rainbow crosswalk, so obviously it's for pride. And we had volunteers come out. I designed it and kind of mapped it out, as I do with a lot of the different, especially the street paintings. And then we have people volunteer throughout the day and come in and help actually paint the ground murals, and really gets people involved, and has a gives them a sense of ownership and stuff like that.
Right. Okay, cool. Very nice. What's next up, Jen?
Okay. Yeah, this one is in New Brunswick. It was a COVID remembrance. It was, the concept was from dust rugs that are in certain parts of Mexico, or sand. It's like they kind of use brightly colored sand on rugs to remember their dead as part of it. Some of them are used during the part of the Day of the Dead. Um, I kind of, obviously you have the dove as kind of like a journey forward, you know, the calla lilies and the, what is that one? The, I can't remember it. The orange flower.
Marigolds.
Marigolds, yeah. So
Yeah.
those, and then, you know, the patterns that I use in the background, those are kind of like my signature patterns. So you'll see that in a lot of my different works. And the idea with this mural was to create two parts and have the birds kind of direct people within the two murals, but also kind of invite people into the new park that was built there. We're going to be kind of refreshing this mural towards the end of summer with New Brunswick Tomorrow. So I think it'll probably be in like August or September.
It's a really nice mural, and it is such an effective way, a beautiful way, really, to express the COVID, the loss during COVID. So I applaud you for that, Leon. That's really nice.
Yeah, that was probably the most complicated part of it. You know, we went through several things. You know, it was like you know, we originally wanted to do something for each person, but I didn't really like that idea per se, because, you know, there's always going to be one or two more people that you might miss, or, you know, there's always people that are, you know, is it in New Brunswick? Is it in, you know, the state of New Jersey? Or, you know, say if somebody's over a little bit, you know, and I just think that's too complicated. So, you know, we just had the does represent the people in general, rather than doing one thing for each person. And, you know, we went back and forth on the designs and stuff, but, you know, it's also, you know, important to kind of, one of the things that we did with this mural was we got feedback from the community. We did some tabling, and we presented the design at a few events and meetings, and, you know, we were able to get ideas from the community, and then we did the design, and then we were able to get community feedback before we actually painted the design.
Well, I think that goes right in with our first question, and I remind you, it's your opportunity to ask Leon Rainbow questions, so put them in the Q&A. Jen, you want to let us know what's going on there?
Sure. Jim Gordon said the community participation with the Rainbow Crosswalk is a major benefit of the project.
Yeah, I think I'll touch on that a little bit. Yeah, I think that community participation is important. I think more and more, especially the large scale murals that I do, I have community participation in many different ways. But, you know, some of it is like, you know, you're either tabling at events, or, you know, doing surveys to get people's feedback, or brainstorming activities. And then, you know, we also do where people actually paint. So I feel like all of those things are important, so that people feel connected to the pieces that you're creating in their neighborhoods, and that you also have a chance to build some connection with the people in the neighborhoods. It's not like you're just dropping off, you know, doing a piece and you're out. You know, you basically are connecting with people. And, you know, it's great because I've got to learn and meet some of the people in New Brunswick, and, you know, just get to know people, and, you know, get their ideas, and, you know, try to convey them to the best of my ability.
Yeah, great. Okay, next up is Peace in the Streets.
Yeah, so this one was amazing. This actually is maybe 2 to 3 blocks from my house. It's pretty much gone now.
Oh no.
basically there's somebody that's lives near my house that loves to do donuts in this area. So, you know, no matter what kind of paint that you use, if somebody does donuts on it, it's not going to last. So this one is basically, we did the peace symbol. We created the wire rope that's supposed to represent Trenton as far as like Roebling wire is concerned. And then, you know, we did the cloud with the patterns that I discussed earlier. And, you know, we did the same thing. We had a community come out and, you know, work on the design. During this time, there was actually several different murals that went on at the same time in different locations around the city of Trenton. I think they had about maybe 4 or 5 different muralists creating these designs. But yeah, the thing about doing road murals or street murals is that, you know, they do have wear and tear. The more vehicle traffic they get, you know, there's always that thing. If somebody, you know, does donuts on them, you know, you can't really do anything about that. But, you know, they do take some maintenance. I would hope within the next year or two that the city will be able to have me come out and redo this one, especially because it's so close to my house.
Right. So, well, that is a little discouraging. I know you are retouching another one of your murals coming up, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That was the COVID one. We're retouching it.
Okay.
But basically, yeah, I mean, they do have certain wear and tear. It is on the street, you know what I mean? It's not like a wall where, you know, you don't really get as much wear and tear. We do use certain paints that's for that. One is called Color Pave, you know, and that seems to last the best, and it does have like a texture to it that does add to the safety, and you know, makes it so it's not as slick. But you know, ground murals are the thing right now, or you know, are very popular. Basketball court murals, stuff like that, or you know, just street murals or sidewalk murals. All those different types of murals are big right now. But you know, there is different wear and tear on those type of murals.
And is it frustrating when when somebody does donuts on them, or even in the normal course of wear and tear?
Yeah, I mean, it's a little bit frustrating, but to a certain extent, I'm able to somewhat disconnect from things. Like once I do, I mean, because you know, by doing graffiti and doing art in the street, I believe that is semi-permanent. You know what I mean? I document everything as best that I can. You know, video, photo, like this one, we have drone footage, all that. But you know, it's one of those things where nothing's gonna last forever, and you know, you just have to take it for what it is. You know, enjoy it while it's there. One of the things, there's certain walls that we do as far as wall murals in our city where we rotate the murals every so often, and you know, people freak out about it sometimes. You know what I mean? But the way that I look at it is like, you know, if you look at a mural, you know, it has the most impact when you first see it. But after you go by it for 2, 3, 4, 5 years, you know, it loses some of that impact. But if you come back around to it, you know, it regains that impact. You know, and I also think if you do kind of some of those, I think there's, you know, there is obviously, it's good to have permanent murals also. But I think it's good to have some of these murals that kind of change and rotate, because it also pushes people to visit that area and to interact with that mural, because they know that it's not going to be there forever. You know, one of the murals that I recently did in Princeton, they're rotating it about every 3 to 4 months now. So,
Wow.
you know, I think as long as I know that it's going to rotate, I think it's fine.
So a little more permanence than the Buddhist sand mandalas, but but you're okay with the impermanence. All right, let's take a look at some of the wall murals.
Okay.
Well, she's pulling that up, and you're now, this is a complicated mural. You're running a team that's painting that. Is that right?
Yeah, I mean, I basically I subcontract artists as needed, you know. So I did a lot of this one myself. I also use commercial sprayers as well as spray paint and latex paint. But yeah, I mean, we did do a paint day with this one, and I did have maybe 2 to 3 artists that I was kind of subcontracting that were helping me fill in different areas and stuff. You know, I'm still to the point where there's certain parts of it that I like to do myself. You know, I like to do that, especially the most important parts to me is like the outlining and the highlighting. I like to do that myself because I want it to be a certain way.
Right. So tell us about this one, Leon.
This one is called Beautiful Broad Street, and it's across from the Mercer County Community College on Broad Street. And it's kind of like that area of Broad Street people didn't really go to as much. So what my idea was kind of to reflect the buildings that's there. There's a new one of them, the one on the left, Broad Street Furniture. That's the actual building that it's on. And then also Buyers, which is now switched to a different men's shop. And then also they have the Mercer County's new design college, which is on the far right. So one of the things was to kind of advertise that there are different businesses down there that you might want to check out, and just, you know, to use the colors and the ideas and stuff to kind of bring people towards that area, and just have, you know, kind of have it catch their eye and kind of bring them down there. And yeah, so that was the main thing with that mural. That was part of a I Am Trenton grant that I was able to get to do that project.
Okay. And you've got your signature here. Would you describe that as a tag, or does that not qualify?
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's more of like a signature, but sure.
So when does it become a tag, Leon?
When it's in the street.
Okay. All right, fair enough. Okay, Jem, what's next? So a mural, do you not consider that not in the street? Just to follow up on that.
Yeah, I mean, I come from a graffiti background, so it is, but it is, you know, it's absolutely, but at the same time, you know, it has a, you know, it has a different energy than something that's done without permission in the street.
Right. Okay.
Mhm.
What are we looking at here?
This is the Raritan Riverways mural, and this was also done with Collab Arts in New Brunswick. And the idea, what we did with this one was they collected oral histories from different people that used the Raritan River. One of them was a crew person, one of them was fishermen, you know, and you know, some of the different people. I listened to the oral histories, and then I kind of came up with the design based on that. And yeah, so it's basically different people and different birds, and you know, that like the osprey, and then on the other side there's an owl. So it has you know, different wildlife and stuff that are part of the river, and it also represents some of the different people that use the river, but you know, in a contemporary way.
Right. Cool. Okay.
Mhm. Awesome. Yeah, this is one of my favorite murals in recent history. This was myself, Max Moses, which is one of my mentors, and Alicia Decoy Conistan. We did this mural in outside of Baltimore, and this is just one section of it. This is kind of like one of the sections that were where I did a lot of it, but the total mural is like maybe 240 feet long by 20 feet tall. So we went out there, we stayed there for 3 weeks, and it was awesome because we just kind of collaborated. We all worked together, we all ate together, and we worked on it at our leisure, and we all kind of vibed off of each other and came up with different concepts. And, it was really cool because it was for a developer out there of Paring Parkway. It's like basically like a big mall. It's on the side of a Joann's Fabrics out there. But they were real open and kind of let us do our thing. Club Venus was a club that was in that development. Like, I guess it probably was in the 70s or 60s, but there was a lot of famous people that came through, and people would come through and see the sign and be like, oh, I went to Club Venus, and they were like, oh, this, and I seen, this famous person while I was over there. And, and then also, you have the patterns that I do. And I really enjoy that. It's very free flowing. I have kind of my own way of doing it, but, it really is kind of like a thing that I can get lost in and kind of just enjoy. I like to be able to have parts of my mural where I could be a little bit more too intuitive than, a lot sometimes, especially with commercial work, everything has to be almost pixel perfect, so I like to have different areas in my murals, if possible, where I can be intuitive.
So there's a lot of background here. And is this all, improvisational, or did you plan it out, or what do you mean by intuitive?
So the patterns in the background were intuitive, meaning that I went to the wall, I got the different colors that I wanted to use, and I did those patterns. The actual sign and stuff, we designed that, we projected that, but the other parts, like those patterns, like what I mean when I say intuitive, I mean that I make them up on the spot. And like I said, I have a certain way of doing them where I know how they should go, and I'm able to kind of play around with them, but it really gives me an element where I can kind of just go off and do my thing, but it still has a certain structure to it.
Yeah, I think the background, it's really cool. It definitely stand out on this one.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Jen.
That's part of the same wall, and so we're like the good life. That was I like, that was awesome that we were able to include a piece of graffiti style lettering into this mural. And then on the right, that's a clock tower that was actually, or it's my rendition of a clock tower that was actually at the location at that strip mall, or at that mall.
So Leon, you got into this as a young guy who sees it as a rebellion. And now you talk about it as a commercial art, and you're including elements of graffiti. So where's the reality in that? Where's your head with all that?
I guess, when I came into when I came into graffiti, when I came into art, it was like, in my era, people learned art so that their graffiti would be better. But now, with the way that things are in 2023, it's like the reverse. I have people that I'm teaching how to paint that already have art degrees, that already understand, depth, color, perspective, all the basic art stuffs, but I'm teaching them how to use the tools and the styles and the techniques of graffiti, so there's definitely a lot more to it. You could ask Chi or any person that's ever tried to use spray paint as a medium. It's not, it's like now, once you get to a certain point, like I've been doing it for over 20 years, I can do things, I can do, a cityscape in 5 minutes, or, I can do things very quickly and very efficiently. But it took me 10 to 20 years to be able to to get my skills to that point where I could do those things at that point. That's why, you know, when people are like, oh, you know, your rates are this, and I'm like, that's because I'm efficient. You know what I mean? If I could do a wall in, you know, but it took me 20 years to be able to do that wall in 4 hours, you know what I mean? Or 5 hours or 2 hours, you know? So it's everything is relative, you know. I think, you know, like I said, I like to incorporate elements, you know, I like people to know like that this has a certain streetness to it. You know, I like to have a little bit of that in there. So it's not too perfect. But at the same time, I want to have the quality, you know, as high as possible, and really to try to push the boundaries of what I do.
So I think that's fascinating that you're teaching trained artists to use those tools. This is again, it's a rebellion. It comes out of a rebellion
Right.
art form. And people from the academy are coming to you. What's that about? Why do they want to learn to use a spray can?
Don't think I'm just teaching artists. I just taught 4th, 5th, and 6th graders how to use spray paint too. You know what I mean? Everybody wants to learn how to use spray paint because it's amazing. It's magic. It's alchemy. You know what I mean? I'm turning walls into cash. You know what I mean? It's concrete into gold. You know what I mean? It's like it's wizardry. You know what I mean? It's amazing what you can do with spray paint. You know what I mean? And I feel like a lot of people, you know, but it, you know, like I said, it takes a lot of work to get to that point. You know, and I know a lot of people don't understand it, especially the lettering. But it's just like the way that I try to explain that is like, if you don't understand the lettering, you're probably not meant to understand it. You know what I'm saying? But in all, just keep in mind, just look at it as like abstract art. Look at the form, look at the color, look at the styles, look at the techniques. But you know, the way that I look at graffiti, when I try to explain it to somebody that really doesn't have experience with graffiti, is like, graffiti is not for the undoctrinated. You know what I'm saying? It's just like, I don't understand classical piano, right? Absolutely not. Why would I think that I could understand classical piano? I don't know anything about it. But if I wanted to learn classical piano, what would I do? I would go to, you know, where people were doing classical piano. I would study it in school. I would learn about it, and I would, you know, basically listen to it and talk about it with different people that knew about classical piano. It's the same thing with graffiti. For some people, it's like they think that just because it's in the street, like they automatically should understand it.
Interesting point. Okay. So I heard you say that if you can't read it, it's not meant for you.
Right.
That. And just because it's out there in the streets for everyone to see, it may not be meant for you either.
Right. I mean, it's not meant for you to understand per se. You know what I mean? You can understand that it's beautiful. You can understand how colors are, right? I mean, the colors are obviously going to be beautiful, you know, and that's the thing too, is like, you know, but then, you know, once you learn it, then it's like, oh, you know, I could see, you know, I could see, say, if you were, like one of my friends that was an artist, I could just see how, like, I couldn't even say, if I couldn't even read it, just by the way certain things are structured, I could be like, oh, that's a pose 2-piece, or that's a Sue piece, just, you know, by the way the colors are done, by the way that certain things are done. But it's very subtle sometimes, you know, even though the art is very bold, you know, sometimes those things are subtle. But, you know, at the same time, we're using the same techniques that other artists are using. You know, we're using color theory, or we should be using, you know what I mean? Color theory, we should be using perspective, you know, dimensions, all that kind of stuff. We're using that in graffiti art and street art.
Yeah, so that's interesting. I'm trying to is that Leon, is that an elitism if it's insider? Or, because I think everything's turned upside down now, like I was thinking about this, opera tickets are expensive, but they cost less than a Beyonce concert. And yet people consider opera to be elitist.
Yeah, I mean, to an extent. I mean, I feel like, I don't know if opera is elitist. To me, I don't know if I'd want to see Beyonce. Well, I definitely would want to see Beyonce more than opera. So there's that. But at the same time, if somebody gave me tickets, I would go to opera. You know what I mean? But my main thing is probably with both of them, I don't really want to dress up. So I probably don't want to go to either one. You know what I mean?
All right, fair enough. Let's move on. There is a question in the chat. Let's take that and then we'll get back to some more art. Thanks, Jen.
Okay. Jim Gordon again.
Oh, Lord.
Trenton, Trenton, New Brunswick, Baltimore, DC. Where else, nationally, internationally, has seen your paint and why?
Sure. I mean, wherever I go, I try to paint. So, I mean, I've been to all over, you know what I mean? I've only, I've been to Mexico, I've been to Canada, and I've been to Israel. But I would like to do obviously more internationally. That's one of my goals, just to, that's one of the things that I like to do. Some of the projects that I do are funded and I go to different places. But say, if I go to, I don't know, say if I go to LA for vacation for a day or two, I'm going to try to paint while I'm there or meet up with somebody and paint. And that's one of the part that's amazing about this art form is that there's a network of artists that's around the world, and a lot of times, I can connect with somebody on Instagram and they'll take me to paint or, meet up with me. I've had people let me stay at their house, not really know me. And, people have really, made sure I was able to get paint and really just took care of me in different locations. And, people have really helped me throughout the way. This is one of those things where, I've had several mentors, I've had different people have helped me. I learn a lot from people that I've taught, then that's the amazing thing. Like I've taught people when they were first starting out and they've gotten very good and they've taught me, so everything comes full circle in that aspect. But I would love to, I painted in Detroit, I painted in LA, San Diego, all over California, DC, Baltimore, Miami, wherever, Asheville.
So I hope this isn't an industry question. If you say you go and you visit somebody in Los Angeles and they take care of you, where do they set you up to paint? Because it's not like you get a canvas, although I know you do paint on canvas as well.
Right. I mean, there's
Are there designated walls or?
Yeah, to an extent, I mean, there's permission walls and there's, unpermission walls, throughout the world, and I feel like, a lot of graffiti artists have access to different locations in their area, just like I would, in Trenton, we have a place that's called TerraCycle. It's a big recycling company, and we've been curating the walls there for, I've been doing it since 2005, so coming up, towards 20 years. And if somebody comes, hits me up and they're coming through, I'm able to set them up on a wall over there, you know what I mean? Or,
So are you telling me you've got a wall of international graffiti artists? Like it's a gallery of famous graffiti artists in Trenton?
Not necessarily. But basically what I'm saying is that we have a wall, we have a location that has tons of different walls. And we have about 4 or 5 people that curate those walls per se or manage those walls. So, you know, say like a couple weeks ago, a guy from Philly had hit us up that's very well known, famous graffiti artist, and was like, oh, I want to come out and paint. So I set him up with one of my friends, Ross, and him, Ross, and another guy, Boosta, painted a wall over there. And then, like I said, a lot of these walls we rotate after every so often. So, you know, it's one of those things. But, you know, say if somebody was traveling from New York to Philadelphia, I'm at those walls, you know, they've seen a lot of different international artists. We do the Jersey Fresh Jam there. That's our big event. It's jerseyfreshjam.com. We do it every August since 2005. And basically, the Jersey Fresh Jam is a 4 elements hip hop event, meaning that you have breaking, you have MCs, you have DJs, and you have graffiti. And then, you know, also we bring other things such as vendors, food vendors. We've had skateboarding. We've had all different types of, you know, and we usually have about 50 graffiti artists, but it's going to be a little bit less this year because we've lost some wall space because they're doing some construction on the building. So, but hopefully we'll be able to get that back for next year.
Okay. That sounds fascinating. I want to see that wall, Leon.
Okay. If you go to the jerseyfreshjam.com and go through the videos, you'll see the walls.
Okay, cool.
All
All right, Jen, let's take a look at some more of Leon's work. We've got part of your series here is coming up next.
Okay.
Increase the peace. Tell us about Increase the Peace. Yeah.
Okay, there's Jim Gordon for everybody who keeps asking questions. But
Hi, Jim.
That's my guy though. But yeah, so what we did was we originally did one of these. I did a piece. I've done several, obviously, because we had the Peace in the Streets one. But we did a piece mural with aisles. I think it was the year before this, so I think it might have been 2020 or 2019. Don't get me to lie. And then we talked in Capitol Health through their Victory program, wanted to do a series of murals. So last summer, we did a series of 3 Increase the Peace murals, and each mural was sub-themed. So this one was It Starts With You. This one was at the Isles building on Tucker Street. So it was really with the IYI students, with the Isles Youth Institute students. So it was really just helping them, you know, bring together those different people. And it was really meant to kind of like, as far as peace, starting with them and, you know, them improving themselves, you know, at that center. But, you know, it's each one's teach one. So they all had like similar themes. And then I also used certain iconography, one of them throughout the different ones. So one of the main ones that I used was the origami dove. So that was one of those things that I used in the different murals to kind of tie them together as a mural series. This was my second mural series and I really liked it. And then if you look at the bottom of this mural, we did something which was called a hand printing ceremony. So what we did was at the opening, we invited the people that worked on this mural to put it together, and also the community to put their handprint in solidarity with this mural as far as increasing the peace in the city. So once we did that, you know, we started out and I was like, oh, you know, I only want to have about 10 handprints. And then next thing you know, I went over there and I was rolling people's, you know, I gave people gloves. We went like that. We went through a bag of gloves, a box of gloves. And I was like, oh man. So then what I did with the next 2 murals that we did in part of this series was I planned out different sections of the mural for these handprints. And so that was the first one that we did in that series. And
It
so,
starts
yeah.
with you. I think that's great.
Mhm.
Okay, is
Yep.
this the second one?
Yeah, this is the second one. Was the indoor one. There's a bunch more to it. This is just one section of it. So this is, it starts with love. And this one was at the Ike Williams Community Center that's in Mill Hill. And we worked with the Take It to the Streets. If you look on the left, it says Take It to the Streets. So that was one of the city's youth summer group. So we worked with them. They do a lot of work within the city and stuff throughout the summer. And then so we did a brainstorming with them, and we also worked with the IYI students on this. So that's me and Ross. He did all the hands in these murals.
They're
So
beautiful, yeah.
yeah, so that's what I'm saying. Like when we were talking about using spray paint, like those hands are done with spray paint, all spray paint. So that's part of it. And the inflate the great and deflate the hate. One of the kids came up with that saying, and I was like, oh, I got to include that in the mural.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Nice.
So yeah, that's one of the things about graffiti art is that right now that people are doing all different styles throughout the country and throughout the world. You have different graffiti artists that do pop art, photorealism, surrealism. All different styles of art with spray paint.
All right, and I understand there's an East Coast and a West Coast style. So what distinguishes them, and which are you, since you're bi-coastal?
Yeah, I mean, actually, every city has this. Not even every section has a style. So when the West Coast, like in the 90s, they created a style which was kind of more jagged, and it was basically where they started with kind of gang or cholo letters, and then they structured their pieces based on that. So it's kind of like more jagged, kind of almost a little bit more aggressive, but it was kind of like very unique. And that was like kind of like a West Coast style. And East Coast style has kind of like more, but like the Bay Area also has a funk letter and new wave kind of started in the Bay. And then, so really each city has their own styles. Philly is more hand style or tag related. So they create their different styles of tags. But the thing now, probably in the last 10 to 15 years with the internet and Instagram, is that styles are definitely becoming less regional. So meaning that people are learning, or you might see somebody on Philly doing a certain style of tag, and then next thing you know, there's somebody in Japan doing that style of tag. Or you have, like I was saying, you have the LA stuff that was based on kind of like gang riding, but then you might have someone in, I don't know, we have people in New Jersey that do that style now. So it's kind of like styles are kind of being blended and kind of moving. It's not like it once was, like say in the 90s or before that, styles were very regional because you went around your area, people would create things, and then you would use, you learn those styles, and then you would base your graffiti off of those styles. So styles are definitely becoming more worldwide.
Right. All right. So Jem points out we've got a couple of questions in the chat.
Okay.
Let's see if it's Jim or if we've got some other people joining the conversation too. Jim, you're welcome. We enjoy it. Whoever wants to join in, we're happy to have you. What do we got, Jen?
No, we don't have Jim. Instead, we have Joe. First, he said, how did you transition from unpermissive to permissive graffiti, and how did you end up in Trenton?
Okay. I never said I transitioned. No, I feel like one of the things, like when I moved to Trenton, I originally moved to Trenton in 1997. I went to Mercer County starting in like maybe 1999. And I started, I wanted to do some murals and stuff. And, a couple people at the city and the Trenton Downtown Association gave me a shot. I did a parking lot. And then, so I did my first murals in the city in 1999. And, once, I started selling canvases and doing artwork and doing art shows. And, once I started believing in me, and then other people started believing in me, and then, you do one project and another project, and then, then the governor's wife asked for you by name, and, different things happen, different projects lead to different projects. And, that's the other thing is your skill sets grow, everything, I just, that's one of the things that I try to do is constantly learn, constantly evolve, and, take techniques and styles that I've learned in the street and apply them to everything that I do. You know what I mean? So I feel like, in a lot of ways, I want to try to have some of that energy of the street in my piece, whether I'm doing it with or without permission. You know what I mean? I want that energy, that raw, that, because that's what originally drew me to graffiti is that, that wild energy per se, like the unpredictableness of it, you know what I mean? Or, just that fluidity of it, you know what I mean? Like when you catch a tag, it's very fluid, very quick. I want that same energy, but it might be legal. But like say in my patterns, I might have where I'm whipping that circle, or I'm including those tags in certain areas in those patterns or something. I like to try to have, or I might have a little drip here and there, or, a splatter or something, just to kind of have a little bit of those elements in what I'm doing. But I feel like, everything is one of the things that I try to do as an artist, and what's really helped me to transition, as Joe said, is just to be a professional. I went to Mercer County Community College. I learned about art, but one of the things that I try to do is to be a business person. You know what I mean? And I feel like artists in general get a bad rap. So I know people must think crazy things about graffiti artists, but I'm very responsive. If someone emails me, I email them back. If somebody contacts me on Instagram, I contact them back, whether it's some kooky stuff or not. But I think like that's one of the things is I have business cards. I have website. I've had a website since 2000. I do web design. It's my day job, so I'm cheating. But at the same time, I've been able to, just use that part of it of being, priding myself as a professional, and handling myself as a business person, and learning how not to get screwed over by business people. And that's how I've been able to become successful at doing murals.
Wow, that was a lot in that. I really appreciate that, Leon. No, that's good. That's a lot, because it's a big question. And there's some big issues there. So, okay. So Jen, we got another question.
Yep, this one is from Chi Bravo, who, thank you, Chi. She introduced us to Leon.
Mhm.
And she said, or asked, does the community help at just one event, or are there more than one day for the community to help out?
I feel like it depends on the project. You know what I mean? I try to, with my larger projects, I try to have at least one event, but, or two. Like I like to have a brainstorming, and I like to have like a paint day. So those are the two where the community are involved. But, depending on, a lot of times what it depends on is the budget of the project. So I like to include that, but I'm only one person also. So at the same time, and it doesn't always, have to be a budget based on that, but it definitely, like for larger projects, I feel like it's helpful, because a lot of times people think that with paint days, like, oh, you know, they're painting all this for you, and you know, you're getting all this work done for free, but it's more work to do a paint day than it is if I was going to do it myself. You know what I mean? Because even though people are filling in certain areas, a lot of times I still have to touch it up. I still have to prepare, because that's one of the things. Like, if you just let people go crazy with spray paint, you're not going to get the results that you want, you know. But so everything, like when I do these paint days, especially using spray paint, or when I have like the 4th, 5th, and 6th graders use water-based spray paint, you know, there has to be a system for it. You know, you have to be very organized, and you have to have it. It has to be done in a certain way if you're trying to use that as a project. Now, if you're just putting a canvas out and letting kids get loose, or letting the general public get loose, I believe in that totally. But at the same time, you're not going to be able to use that for the project that you're doing. You know what I mean? Because, you know, there's something very freeing, and there's something very, very therapeutic about graffiti, just in general. You know what I mean? Just taking, you know, a canvas and just, or, you know, just go in your backyard, grab a couple cans of spray paint and just get loose. You know, I mean, what's the worst thing that could happen? You if you don't like it, you take a gallon of paint and you paint over it.
That's cool. I'm seeing a workshop at Phillips Mill in spray painting. That sounds cool.
Awesome.
A little bit different. Okay. We're having such a nice time that the hour is slipping up on us. So we're going to skip ahead.
Okay.
And we're going to let people go to your website to see the finish of that series.
Okay.
I really wanted to show this one, Leon, because I'm a big fan of the Task Soup Kitchen artists, the A-team. So,
Yeah. So I did have on this one, I did subcontract 2 of the members of the A-team to work on this with me.
Awesome.
Yeah, so that was amazing. You know, I designed it. Like I said, I had the patterns. You know, I think it was blazing hot when we did this too, but you know, they were able to approve the design, and you know, it was fun. Was able to do some, you know, so this is obviously, you know, the Trenton area soup kitchen. So this mural incorporates, you know, some of the food and some of the nourishment that they do there, but kind of in a bright way. And you know, I did involve some neon effects and some different things to kind of spruce it up. And the lettering, the Task lettering, is based on their new logo. So it's basically like the S is a bowl of soup that's steaming. Mm-hmm.
That's awesome. Okay, then there's some great artists who are centered at Task. So give a shout out to them. We've got another question, Jen.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Yes. Robert asked, do you have a preferred brand of spray paint? Also, high pressure versus low pressure preference.
Like a ringer.
All right. No, I mean, I'm going to tell you the truth is that I use all brands of spray paint. I feel like a lot of times, the only time when people will be like, I love Montana Gold, is when they're sponsored by them. Since I'm not sponsored by none of them, I'm not really, but I think, like, obviously, you know, there's different levels. I love Rust-Oleum, but over the last year, they raised it too much to where it's not really worthwhile anymore for the price. Last year, it went from like, it was originally like $3.86 a can, and it went to, now it's like $7 to $8 a can for Rust-Oleum. Wow. And of course, Rust-Oleum is the best, especially for anything that's metal. But it is a higher pressure paint, so you have to know how to work with a higher pressure paint. Obviously, I love higher pressure paints for filling and doing, you know, I feel like things like the Montana 94, the Montana Gold, those are best for fine details, portraits, you know, tight characters, tight logos, things like that. But some of the other brands that I really like is kind of like what I've been doing is the mid-level brands, because I buy like 300 to 500 cans at a time, so I get it wholesale. So the main brands that I'm using right now is Loop, Cobra, and AA. And I like all of them for different reasons. I love the AA. It's coverage. The new valves are great, because you could do kind of fast and loose, or you could do kind of quick and tight. And Loop is always good, and the Cobra, yeah, they're all great paints. It's just kind of like what your preference is. But me personally, I've learned to be able to use whatever paint is available for the most part. Obviously, whatever premium paint is available, or Rust-Oleum I'll use. There's different ones I don't want to use. Krylon is horrible because I guess at one time it was okay, but now it's super runny. I'll still use some of it, but it just, the coverage isn't there.
Leon, I have a theory that there's like a journal for any endeavor on the earth. And I just love to hear you talking about the new nozzles and all that. It's pretty great.
Right. Yeah, I mean, the good thing is now the journal is the internet. So if you go on YouTube or you go on anything, a lot of that information is out there. Everybody has their own preferences. But I feel like one of the best ways is usually starting in March to early June. We do classes in Trenton at TerraCycle. That's a great way to learn in a positive and legal way. We do the first 4 classes, which are the design classes online, and then we do the next 8 weeks painting classes. So if anybody really wants to learn how to spray paint, we just finished a couple weeks ago, but that's a great way. And also, I would be available for Phillips Mills to set up workshops.
All right, good. Let's work it out, Leon. Last, let's just close out because we are up on the hour now. Okay. You did some consulting with Chi Bravo about her work for the Lotus Project. She's an artist in residence there, and she painted with you, or tell us how you were involved with her giant banner for the pilgrims. This isn't the banner, but right. We don't have a picture of that, but I know you consulted with her on a banner for pilgrims.
Yeah, I basically kind of she wanted to do like a fluorescence, kind of like she wanted a sky that glowed. And I kind of just helped her kind of lay it out, and just really get the painting, at least the base coat of the painting in there. And then she was kind of able to kind of do the stars a certain way that she wanted to do them. But, it was fun working with Chi, and just like, I was able to kind of help her think through what the right material would be, and, kind of what would be the best way to go about it, because she wanted to be really light, which is always a challenge, to have things light and durable.
And so it's a great artist helping artists with across the different techniques, because of course she's a printmaker primarily, and using spray paint is a very different thing. So Leon, thank you very much for joining us tonight. It was a real pleasure and a treat to have you on ArtTalk.
Thank you guys for having us.
All right, take care. Yep.
Right. See you guys.
And Leon, you've got the graffiti. Tell us again the name? I'm sorry, I don't. The name of your project coming up in August. The name of the jam.
Okay. It's called Jersey Fresh Jam.
There we go.
It's jerseyfreshjam.com, or on Instagram at Jersey Fresh Jam. And we've been doing that for 17 years. It's basically a celebration of hip hop. We're still looking for sponsors and vendors if that applies to you. But yeah, definitely go on our website or our Instagram, check it out. It's always a fun event. And yeah, that's it.
That's great. And Jen has that in the chat. The info's in the chat. So thank you again. Thanks also to guest producer Chi Bravo. You can find out more about her project, which is at the Lotus Project, nj.org. And the concerts are coming up in the next couple of days. So that's imminent. Thank you also to Jean Mihich. She's our ArtTalk producer and is very hardworking. Thank you, Jean. Thank you very much, Jen McHugh, our technical director. And coming up next month, we're talking with sculptor Mark Safiri on July 21st at 7 p.m. That's the third Wednesday of the month. And the guest producer is sculptor Sean Campbell. I hope you'll join us for that. Mark is a fascinating woodworker exploring multi-axis turnings, and he's a very accomplished artist also. Thank you all so much for joining us tonight. I'm Laura Womack.